Tonight I wanted to focus on something that has been coming up a lot at my occupation, and the goal of this speech is to share with you something that I think a manager would share in my department or to other departments at Drake Software. So I've set up a PowerPoint presentation to help you be able to capture the items that I want you to remember. And at the end of my talk tonight, I hope that you'll understand a few of my points. Number one, what are the new IRS requirements that affect tax return preparers? The issues and concerns that they're going to face as a result of these requirements, some of the important dates, and the opportunities that we have at Drake Software in regard to these requirements. Let me give you a little bit of history about the tax return industry before I tell you what the new requirements are. First of all, in the last 20 years, there has been a huge shift in taxpayers going to paid return preparers for assistance in filing their federal tax return obligations. And this has turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry, whether it be through the paid tax preparers themselves, software companies like Drake Software, banks who offer bank products, and other sources who really profit from this industry. However, although we make a lot of money, or many people do make a lot of money in this industry, for the most part, there are some things that are highly unregulated. For example, many tax return preparers do not have any type of professional licensure or certification where they have been granted the opportunity to prepare tax returns for you. A lot of them are people like you and I who just open up a shop and start doing your 1040s. Let's talk about some of the statistics here. 80% of the tax returns that were filed in 2008 were done either by a paid tax preparer or by somebody at home using tax preparation software. The IRS estimates that 900,000 to 1.2 million people are paid preparers in the United States. However, a very small number of those are actually people that hold a CPA, attorney, or enrolled agent designation. Finally, for many taxpayers in the United States, the tax return process, whether they're receiving a refund or paying taxes due, represents one of the largest financial transactions that they will experience during a given year. So it's very important to taxpayers as well. Now, the IRS and their perspicacious mindset did some research to determine how necessary it would be to actually regulate the tax preparer industry. They sent out some auditors to 28 different unenrolled agents or tax preparers in a metropolitan area that was not disclosed. They had 28 returns prepared, all very similar, and the results were 17 of those unregistered preparers got it wrong. They either gave a refund that was too high, or taxes due that were too low, or vice versa, actually giving the consumer, the taxpayer, the wrong results. So let's talk about what's going to happen now. Preparer registration. There are some new requirements that we'll be experiencing, and taxpayers will be experiencing too, based on the results the IRS found. This is an example of a taxpayer and how they feel right now, or a tax preparer and how they feel right now. There's a lot of stuff that is unknown, and there are a lot of regulations that they're going to have to, hoops that they're going to have to jump through to get with the system now. Our job at Drake Software is to get them climbing up the ladder, up the stairs, into feeling at ease and getting through some of this process. To make it simple, you can understand the new requirements as a three-step process. The tax preparer registration is going to require three things. The first is that all tax preparers sign up for a PTIN. A PTIN is a preparer tax identification number, and essentially that number is going to go with every return that a paid preparer does, so we know who prepared what and when they prepared it. Many people already have a PTIN. If they already have one, they'll get to keep the same one during this process. But for those who don't have one, it's going to be a requirement soon. The second item is to pass a competency exam. Right now, there are many preparers who have not passed an exam or undergone formal education to be able to prepare tax returns, and that's going to change as well. The third item is to obtain continuing education. Many professionals are required to take classes every year to certify or to keep up with their knowledge. And the continuing education aspect is something that will be required annually now for tax preparers. Let's take a look at the steps in a little more depth so I can tell you about the dates and when these things are going to happen. In September 2010, in just a few weeks, the IRS is going to launch their website where they will require preparers to go and sign up or register their PTINs. Of course, there will be a fee involved with that, and that fee is going to be used to keep up this website in this new regulation. The fee is to be determined right now. December 31st of this year is the deadline for all existing preparers to obtain a PTIN or to register the one they have. If they plan to start preparing taxes as of January 1, 2011, then they must be registered. The second step is to pass the competency exam. Now, the competency exam, there's a lot that is unknown about this right now. We don't know what the specific questions of the exam are going to be. We don't know the third party that's going to administer the exam or the date the exam will be ready. We've been told that it will be ready in mid-spring of 2011. However, we do know who's required to take the exam and who isn't. Preparers who have registered for a PTIN by December 31st are required to take and pass the exam by December 31st, 2013. So they have a 3-year window once they register to pass this exam. Attorneys, CPAs, and enrolled agents, those who have some sort of professional licensure to prepare taxes, are exempt from the competency test requirement. Let's take a look at some of these important dates so that we can make sure we know in our minds which dates are the most important. Again, September 1, the website is open. Everybody needs to start going there to register their PTINs. But on December 31st, that's your deadline if you're going to prepare taxes next year. The test will begin in mid-2011, and once testing is available, anybody who did not register for their PTIN by the end of this year will not get a PTIN until they pass the test. So those people are going to be locked out until they pass the test. And finally, the deadline for everyone who did what they were supposed to do and register by the 31st of this year, December 31st of this year, they'll have those 3 years to pass their exam. The third step is to obtain your continuing education credits. Now, this is where my department at Drake Software really comes into play, because we offer courses that provide CPE to clients. CPE accrues every year, and it's something that is necessary for anybody who has a professional license to maintain their licensure with their board. The IRS is mandating that we provide 3 tax law update hours a year, 2 hours of ethics, and 10 hours of other federal tax law topics. I believe that Drake Software will be able to provide all of these areas of CPE for a total of 15 hours per year for our clients. So just to recap, the preparer registration process is 3 steps. First, you sign up for that PTIN. Second, you pass your competency exam. And third, you're going to obtain your continuing education credits. Let's look at some of the opportunities and consequences of these new requirements. The first consequence is actually a positive. It's positive for us as professionals in the tax industry. It's positive for taxpayers too, because we're going to have more educated and capable preparers out there preparing returns. However, I see some pretty vivid drawbacks to the requirements as well, because this is going to require preparers to get up to speed quickly. It's also going to rule out some preparers who aren't able to pass that competency exam. So not everyone that's in the industry now will remain in the industry after 2013. This is a good thing, though, for us at Drake Software in a way, because there is some revenue that we can make as a result of the requirements, because we can offer preparer study courses to help them pass that competency exam, and we can expand our CPE offerings to include ethics and other tax law topics that we don't include already. Now that I've finished telling you the consequences and what's happening with the new requirements, I'd like to open up the room to questions. We'll have a timed 5-minute segment where you can pick my brain about the items I just presented.